I seek to submit it at their lotus feet. Next slide, please. The outline of this talk will be a brief review of history. By Bhagavan's grace, since 1999, I've been learning Samveda along with Bhashya with a very great Samvedin in Bangalore, Sheshana Shroti Mahodaya. The talk will be focused on Samveda, one particular rick of Samveda to capture the flavor of what comes by and what are the challenges and how our forefathers have addressed it and how we are to address it. The first part will be a brief review of history. I promise to be very brief. New and novel efforts, recent bhashyas on the Samveda which have been written by people, and I'll present a very small comparison by way of that single richa. I seek to do a comparison of the various bhashyas, old and new, and there will be some rhetoric. You'll have to bear with me. I'll have to say this because there is too much of rubbish which is being published by way of Vedic research these days, and it is intolerable. We have to do something about it. I'm sorry for being intense, but it needs to be done. Now, the next slide, please. What is the definition of research that I use here? A well-known definition. Any lead which helps us to understand the meaning of Veda, but with certain caveats. Next slide. The caveats are these. Any self-consistent way of thinking. One swallow doesn't herald a spring, you know. There may be people who can understand one richa of Veda and then they may say, oh, Sayana has gone wrong here, Sayana has gone wrong there. But you have to address the whole of the Vaidika Vangmaya if you are writing even a single bhashya of a richa, and that is what most of our traditional scholars, old and new, have done, and it will be presented very soon. Self-consistent way of thinking. It shouldn't be that in Richa 1 you held a certain view about a certain word, and in Richa 10 it totally changed. That shouldn't happen. If suppose there is a change, you have to substantiate such a change, saying why you have digressed from your own interpretation in Richa 1. So that is the idea. Self-consistent way of thinking. It should be rational, not appealing to emotions, not appealing to authority. I am, you know, something. That's why you have to take my word. Nothing like that. It should be justifiable by Shruti Pramana. Shruti Pramana. The whole of Shruti, whole of Veda is one whole thing. If you write something which contradicts some other part of Shruti, most time you are wrong. It should be justifiable by any other reasonable pramana. And very, very necessarily, it should not be based on delusions of dhyana, yoga, etc. There are a lot of people who think that they are dhyanis, they are yogis, and they reel out a lot of bunkam, lot of rubbish. Most of the time, they go against the spirit of the Veda itself. And it is not based on any individual's opinion. No individual's opinion is over and above the Shastric opinion. And the Shastra itself has given us the tools. I don't see any need to reinvent the wheel, or if there is a need to invent something, it should be at least reasonable, rational. We will go to the next slide. The focus of the talk is nothing new. I'm just, by way of Nivedanam, I'm just placing on record what our traditional commentators have done. And see, any new study has to begin with an appraisal of what other people have already done and what is your value addition. Most of the time we find people will take one richa and then say, oh, Sayana has gone wrong here. or X and Y have gone wrong here. But where is your contribution? Have you apprised each and every bhashya written to each and every richa written by Sayana? Most of the times, no. So we need to at least be apprised of what work has already been done. This is and another point is because my study of the bhashya has been primarily in Samveda, I will not digress, and it will be on a single richa so as to capture the essence of it and to be brief. Next slide, please. The bhashya writers of Samveda, very briefly, Madhava, he lived circa 6000 Common Era, a very scholarly commentator, his bhashyas are brief. Alpaksharam, asandigdham is what is expected of a bhashya. It is Alpakshara. So, Bharataswamy, he lived circa 1300, and both of them, they predate Sayana. Sayana lived somewhere around 1300, 1400. And a very scholarly, very a person with novel approach, Shobhakara Bhatta. Shobhakara Bhatta has written Stobha Bhashya. Samaveda, the uniqueness of Samaveda is the Sobha, and the Aranyakanda, he has written a Sobhashya for the Aranyakanda, and the Rudra, Sama Rudra and Sama Purusha Sukta. It's very, very novel, and for the Stobhas, he has given the Padapatha also, which is very, very unique. See, Richadyudham Sama, any Sama has to be based on a Rik as its base, and there are rules which say how this Rik transforms itself into a Sama that is covered by the Shakha Granthas called, Lakshana Granthas called Rik Tantram, Sama Tantram. This Shobhakara Bhatta has gone back. He has taken the Stobhas, which are Apurushaya. He has taken the Stobhas and reconstructed the Padapathas. It's very, very unique. As far as I know, nobody has done such a contribution to Samveda through history. And unfortunately, I will not be covering the Stobha Bhashya. I'll be concentrating on the first three. Let's go to the new and novel efforts. There are two new to say past 100 years. Brahmamuni Parivrajaka, fabulous bhashya, very scholarly bhashya, and self-consistent. And then there is Bhagavadacharya, which is a good bhashya, but a little tainted because of his rhetoric against Sayana, etc., which is totally unnecessary. It's a scholarly bhashya nonetheless. Now, next slide, please. This is, I'm taking a single richa. This is the richa number 35 in the modern notation of Samveda, Yajna Yajnavo Agnayi. And I will show you contrasting and agreeing styles. There is a lot of contrast between commentators. There is a lot of agreement also. Next slide, please. Yes. This is the richa. Rik. Yajna Yajnavo Agnayi Gira Gira Chadakshase Prapravayam Amritam Jatavesasam Priyam Martyanna Shangsesham. Now, Madhava, while giving his bhashya, these are the, as we all know, any shloka which is given to us, first we break it down to the Padapatha, then we do an Anvaya, and only then do we actually start unraveling the meaning of the Rik or the shloka. Now here, in this mantra, this ring mantra, the way Madhava seeks to understand this is by having the Anvaya this way, Pada and Anvaya this way. Yajne Yajne Tvam. In the literal text it is Vaha. And Agnim, in the literal, it is Agnaye, Gira Gira. And there is Cha in the Rik, he says Cha is a Padapurana. We'll come to that. Daksham, for Dakshase, he has made it as Daksham. And one Pra, in the Pra, he has made it as a Padapurana. And he says, Prashamsisham aham. In the literal it is Vayam. Amritam. Amarana Dharmanam. Jata Vedasam Priyam. Priyam Mitram Na. Now, the Bhashya, when it is reduced, he's given a lot of explanations. Those explanations are in the next slide. But see, this is how he tries to understand the meaning of this rit. Yajne yajne tvam agnim gira gira dakshase utsahinam balavantam aham amritam jatavedasam priyam mitramiva stuyam. In every yajna, I praise that Agni who is strong, enthusiastic, lacking depth, and born all-knower, as though he were my dear friend. This is the way in which Madhava has understood this. Now, next slide, please. In Veda, there is Linga Vityaya, Vachana Vityaya, etc. Here, there are a lot of Vachana Vityayas. Dvitiya Bahu has become Dvitiya Eka, Vaha becomes Tvam. Chaturthi Eka becomes Dvitiya Eka. Two examples for, two of them are Agnaye becoming Agnim, Dakshase becoming Daksham. Pra is a Padapurana. Padapurnartham Dvirvachanam. Na, Priyam Mitram Na is not a Nishedartha here, it is Uparishtad, Upacharad, Upamarthiyaha. Then we are coming to the next slide. Another ancient commentator, Bharata Swami, yes. Yajne Yajne Yuyam or Tvam. In the literal it is Vaha. Agnayi Gira Gira. And for Cha, he makes it as Chet. And Dakshase. And Padapurana he removes. That's been stuck out in the presentation. Prashamsisham. Aham. In literal it is Vayam. Amritam Jatavedasam Priyam Mitram Na. Now the meaning in Sanskritam, Yajne Yajne Yuyam Tvamva He Stotaraha Stotaha Agnyartham Stutya Stutya Samardhayasi Samardhayatha Chet Yadi Yuyam Me Sahaya Bhutaha Stotraihi Agnaye Samriddham Utpadayatha Tada Aham Vayam Prakarshena Stavani Stavama. In every yajna, if you, O Stotas, Stota, help me. If you make the Agni well lit, then we will praise you as though you were our dear friend. Now, Cha, he has taken it in the artha of Chet, Chaniti Nipatas Chet, Chedarthe Vartate, Adhyaharaha Yadi Yuyam Sahaya Bhutaha Stotraihi Agnaye Samriddhim Utpadayatha Tada. And pra, sam, upa, and ut are padapuranas. Padapuranas, that's why he has taken out pra. Vayamiti atmani bahuvachanam. Prashamsisham prakarshena stavani stavama vayam. Now, next one. Sayana. Vaha yajna yajna dakshase agnaye gira gira cha. Prashamsisham amritam jatavedasam mitram na. He stotaraha yuyam yajne yajne dakshase pravriddhaya agnaye gira gira stutirupaya vacha stotram kuruteti sheshaha vascha yuyam cha stotram kuruta vayamapi tvam agnim tam agnim amritam jatavedasam mitram na priyam shamsama. O stotas, in every yajna to the well-lit Agni, do stuti of him. As you are engaged in doing stuti of him, we also will do his praise as though he were our dear friend. So, one would say it's balki khal nikalna, it's hair splitting, but research is about hair splitting. So you can clearly see how different the approach of these people has been. Next slide, please. And in Brahma Muni, a very recent commentator, 100-year-old commentator, Yajna Yajna. Here he says Yajna Yajna is Yajnasu. He's given the explanation. Gira Giracha, Dakshase Agnaye. I know this. I've been ruthless with other people. I'm getting a little bit of it back. I'm very sorry. I'll conclude very soon. Yajna Yajna. He has given the meaning in हिंदी। मेरे सकल वचन और सकल स्तुतियाँ तुझ प्रवृत्त सवृत्त सर्वत्र व्याप्त एवं ज्ञान प्रकाश रूप परमात्मा के लिए है। अतः तुझ अमृत रूप तथा उत्पन्न मात्र को आधार और ज्ञाता प्यारे मित्र के समान परमात्मा की मैं निरंतर प्रशंसा स्तुति करता हूँ। All my words and all my praises are to you, who is full grown, all pervading, knowledge light form, supreme soul. Hence, I praise the deathless substratum of the created world and all knower as though he were my dear friend. So, this is a very, he has done it through his bhashya, he's written it for the Purvarchika, Uttararchika also. It is in the Adhyatmika sense, and has been, I mean, the bhashya is fabulous. One needs to read that. Now, the next slide, the one yajna, he has made it yajnasu, susthane akaradeshaha. Now, the next one, very briefly, this is another Bhagavatacharya Muni. As I told you, he has used the Adhyatmika interpretation, but a little bit of it is sullied by rhetoric, but we can leave out the rhetoric and take the good points there. Due to paucity of time, I'm not covering that. Conclusions. Every commentator has come to his own interpretation of the Rig based on a set of tools derived by Ashtadhyayi, etc. So, if Panini wouldn't have said which are the Padapuranas, Cha, Pra, etc., we would have been in deep sea without any tool to understand, and those tools are very much there. We need not reinvent the wheel, and each one has a unique anvaya. It is easy to jump and conclude to one to be right and the other to be wrong. This is done by fanatics. A researcher should avoid that. This is beyond the scope of genuine research, and a researcher should avoid this as far as possible. And the other thing is, I haven't even touched the meanings given by Brahmanas, Upanishads. The Brahma Muni's bhashya in that sense is comprehensive. He has covered many Aranyakas, many Upanishads, etc. And my great friend Pavan here, he had told me that Yaugika Artha, the Artha derived from Vyakarana, has a lower manyata when compared to the Nirvachanas as given in the Brahmanas. So, Brahmanas or Upanishads. So, without a comprehensive study of Brahmana and Upanishad, if somebody wants to do it, that will not be good Vedic research. And this also gives us enough room to say that the last word on Veda hasn't been written yet, and neither is it necessary. Each one understands the Veda in his own way, and each one of it in its own way is right. And there is no need to say this is right, this is wrong. And this is a small appeal. Please reject those people who go against Shastra in the name of intuitive knowledge. Quite a lot of rubbish is being published these days. This can only be overcome by sound Vedic research. By sound Vedic research, I mean sitting at the feet of a Veda Vedta, studying under him and studying the bhashyas which are already there. And those who don't know the hoary history of Bhashya, Tika, Vritti, Vivarana tradition, they deserve the insult to their intellects in the form of badly written books. They deserve it. If they don't want to read Bhashya, Vivarana, Tika, etc., they deserve to be insulted. Their intellects are deserved to be insulted. And let us attack their puffed up egos everywhere. And next one. Next one. And it bears repetition that understanding Veda is not a job everyone is capable of. I'm not saying this in any sense. I'm just telling this as it is a complete system. One life is not enough to understand it. You have to sit at the feet of a acharya and learn it. And only then come out to say something about the Veda. This world will not be poorer if some people stop writing. And to understand Veda without the traditional tools, they are just swimming naked. Very soon they'll be exposed. I thank you a lot for